Welcome to Leen on Kindness with Eileen Tucker Cosby, a podcast dedicated to spreading kindness, fostering empathy, and eliminating hate, one story at a time. Hello. I'm so excited to be here with everybody today. My guest today is the love of my life, my husband, David. And let me tell you a little bit about David. The reason why I can't stop giggling is because he always puts a smile on my face. And I'm so excited to have him here today because, you know, on our podcast, one of the things that we do is we try to really work hard on eliminating hate. And unlike me, my husband was raised in a predominantly Black area in both Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Indianapolis, Indiana. And I'm the very opposite. I was raised in a predominantly white area in Utah, Leen, Utah. And both bring their sets of challenges. And so today we're going to be talking to David about his sets of challenges and the way in his life that he was able to eliminate hate where it didn't seem like that would ever be a possibility. So welcome to my husband, David. Hey, David.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good.
Thank you so much for being here with me. By the way, David and I will be celebrating our 36th wedding anniversary this October.
I thought it was 37.
It's 36, I think,
Okay,
babe.
all right.
We'll have to calculate.
Okay.
Anyway, David, tell us a little bit about, we're going to start with your childhood. So tell everybody where you were born.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, home of the Pittsburgh Steelers,
Oh,
6
my-
bowl Super Bowl champions.
Oh, thank you for all of that detailed information. And so you're born in Pittsburgh. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
Let me see. I had, wow, 5 brothers and 2 sisters. So it was a total of 8.
8 of you
8
all together.
children.
Yes. And what was it like being in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania? You had lots
Well,
of cousins.
Cousins, grandparents, that's where all my immediate family was in Pittsburgh. So it was fun because I'm only 5 years old, or
Right.
4 years old at the time. So I'm just enjoying, I don't know what's going on. I'm just enjoying the family.
Right.
I didn't understand the hardships. But by the time I was 4 and a half.
So with those siblings, with those cousins, you guys had a lot of fun where you all were living in the same brownstone?
Well, yeah, for a while.
That is crazy.
Like I say, my mom was there, and at the time, she probably had, 5 kids
Wow.
at the time.
Mhm.
And then my auntie, she had her 3 kids there. And plus, she still had siblings living there because she was the oldest out of 10.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
at any given time, there's over 20 people living in this house. I don't know how my
With
grand-
your father and mother, their kids, the
Mhm.
auntie and her kids, and then the grandparents were
Yeah.
there, and then some
yeah,
of their
her
children.
and my mom's siblings.
Wow.
You know, like I said, she was the oldest, so there was a lot of them still living there.
Must have been a huge brownstone.
It was three stories, I'm thinking. Pretty good size.
That is big. That is big. And was it a pretty diverse neighborhood where you lived?
Well, pretty most. I can remember you had Italian families, you had Jewish families, Black families, Latinos. Pretty well diversified neighborhood for a while, but that changed later.
Okay. And so why did that change?
Just like back in the 60s, the white flight, everybody started moving out to the suburbs. And so when that happens, this state, for instance, Indianapolis, where I lived at, when people started moving out to the suburbs, we still had red line districts. Black people can only live in this area. So as whites moved out, we were still stuck in the neighborhood. And then after the laws changed, where people who had money could move out of the neighborhood, then the poor people got stuck in these neighborhoods. Same way in Pittsburgh. All the people who could afford to move out of the inner city moved out, and the people who couldn't afford to move out stayed. So the neighborhoods deteriorated as the poverty increased.
And so then you left Pittsburgh, and why did you leave Pittsburgh and move to Indianapolis? You know, why was Indianapolis chosen?
You want the real story or the good story? The reason, I think the main reason that we moved from Pittsburgh was my dad's decision. He did not want us growing up around my mom's family because they had a dysfunctional family, a lot of alcoholism, and he didn't want us growing up in that environment. And plus, I think they didn't like my dad either.
Oh. Get out.
I think they kind of ran him out of town too.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And so what was it? Why did he choose Indianapolis? Do you know?
He had family there.
Oh,
His-
okay.
His sister was living there
Okay.
at the time. So I think that's why he went to Indianapolis.
Okay. And then when you moved to Indianapolis, as you had kind of explained earlier, it was a red line district, so you were limited
different.
as to where you could live and afford probably.
Yeah, yeah. And it was different too because Pittsburgh's a little more diverse. Indianapolis was totally segregated. We lived in an all-black neighborhood, went to all-black school. Certain places you couldn't go in Indianapolis, like certain swimming pools, theater, amusement parks, we couldn't go there. Because you realize this is back in I was 4 years old when we moved. So that's 1955 when we moved to Indianapolis.
And everything was
Oh, it's
segregated at the
terrible.
time.
It's terrible.
So what did your dad do? How did he make a living? I mean, he's having all these kids. How does he make?
He did janitorial work. He used to drive cabs. Most of his life, he probably worked 2 jobs. I think for a little bit when my mom wasn't having children, she was working at a hospital. So we're struggling like everybody else.
And would you say that in that neighborhood it was pretty diverse in terms of the types of Black people that lived there?
Oh, absolutely.
Did you have the professional, Black?
Yes. You had an engineer down the street. You had a doctor. My uncle was a pastor, for instance. So you had all these people living in this neighborhood. Made it a great neighborhood too. We had our own stores and stuff, and so it was just a nice neighborhood. But that changed, like I said, with the civil rights laws that were passed. That changed.
And that's great in terms of, not that the civil rights laws changed, that's not the great part, but the fact that you were exposed to various different professions. You saw
yes.
Black engineers, you saw Black doctors.
Poor, middle class, wealthy,
Yeah. Because where I was raised, we didn't see that until later. I mean, we finally did see it, but it's so great to be able to see people who are like you, who look like you, to be able to aspire to,
It's nice.
Yeah, that was really nice. That was really
Enjoyed
nice.
it.
Yeah. So when you were a child and coming up in that segregated environment, did you find yourself limited in terms of your education? Of course, when you were little, you may not have known
No.
what any of that meant, but as you got older.
Yeah, like I think we talked about this before, that I really didn't understand the difference until you got outside of the area. I think if you're born poor and that's all you know, you get used to it. And I remember when we went on a field trip, I'm trying to think how old was I? Still in grade school. So might have been about 10, 11 years old.
Okay.
It was this new high school that they built called Orange High School in Indianapolis. And at the time, it was all white high school. So we took a field trip over there because they had a planetarium. Oh my gosh, I was just hooked after that. But to walk into this school and at the state of the art, the labs and science labs and the gym, indoor swimming pool and all that, I'm like, this is not what we have. I went to this little grade school. We had our playground was asphalt. There's no grass. It was just it's
No
terrible.
equipment or anything.
None. It was just terrible. But you didn't realize, we played kickball and stuff like that, but you didn't realize what you didn't have until you see what other people have. And it's like, something's wrong here.
So how did that make you feel?
I was not happy about that.
And did you wonder, why don't we have equipment? Why don't we?
At that age, you really don't understand. You just see, well, they have it. Why don't we have it? So it's in the back of your mind, but you don't know the reasons why. That didn't come till later as you get older.
Sure.
And you understand the dynamics of racism.
Right. But did you think maybe at the time that they're white and they get it and we're Black and we don't, or it just didn't really settle in?
Well, it really didn't. Let me see. Well, I'm trying to think, when was the civil rights? 1965, 64 civil rights movement?
Sure.
I was
Well,
born
started
in 51,
early in the
so I
50s.
was born in 51, so I was just 12, 13 years old. I'm starting to get it. Watching nightly news, Selma, Alabama, I see the dogs, the beating, the water hoses, and it's all towards Black people. And now I'm really starting to get it. Like I said, I lived in this little bubble that we lived in where it's just Black people. And the only whites that we had engagement with was police officers.
And we're going to talk about that.
We're
going to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break right now. Talk a little bit on when we come back about some of the differences that you saw as a child, and also any unkind behavior that was shown towards you during that time. All right, we're back, and we were starting to talk a little bit about, some of the differences between the Black neighborhoods, white neighborhoods, way that whites were seemingly living compared to you. And one of the things I think about, not only was it the white situation and versus Black, but it was the haves versus the have-nots. So you were raised in a poor, side of town. What was that like when it came to how you were treated by even other Black people? I remember you once telling me that the kids would make fun of you because of what you were wearing.
Oh yeah, we were poor. Like I said, we lived in a economically diverse neighborhood. Like for instance, my best friend down the street, his dad was a teacher, so was his mom. So they lived a little better than we did. And so when they went to school, they didn't have holes in their pants or holes in their shoes. There's times when I've gone to school in the wintertime in tennis shoes with cardboard in the bottom because they had holes in them. But that's all my parents could afford. And people make fun of you. The teacher would say, "Why are you wearing your tennis shoes out in the snow?" I'm like, if I had something else, believe me, I'd be wearing it. This is it. This is all I have. The coats are too short, or it's just the way it was. It's just
that must have been, and then you would have known this word humiliating at the time, that people making fun of you that way.
It was, and I'm sure it affected me. But yeah, you would get teased. That's just the way it was.
That's
just
the way
same
it
way
was.
now. There's no difference.
Right.
People will bully and tease.
And how that, I think that what people don't understand sometimes when they're going through that is how it will affect someone's life. So when we think we want to make fun of somebody, just really taking a step back and we don't think, how could this hurt someone? How can it affect their lives? And I could see in your life where it may have affected you in negative ways, but also I can see how it had affected you in good ways because you wanted better.
Yeah, I hate bullies. I just, because I understand hardship. Understand, like say for young kids going through things, it's not their fault. They have no control. You cannot choose your parents. You cannot choose where you live.
Right.
We have no control over that. And people have a tendency to tease kids.
And it can go too far.
Oh, they always.
Yeah, that's
always.
very, very unkind behavior. So the other thing that I remember you and I talking about is as you got older, you had to work. You had all these children in your family. Did your dad stay in the family? Because I know that your mom and dad kind of had a rocky relationship.
Oh, yeah, he was different. That's what I'm going to say. He was different. And I'm trying to think. They've got divorced, and he left when I think I might have been 12 years old. Because I can remember having discussion with my siblings about if something happens, who's going to go with dad, who's going to stay with mom. Well, it won't be me.
So you stayed with mom.
Yeah, we all did.
Yeah.
He wasn't taking anybody.
Right.
So actually, I was about 12, 13. And my mom had kind of been a stay-home mom. So she went to work. There's no getting on welfare and that kind of stuff.
She wasn't doing it. I remember once you telling me, Mom, we need the government cheese. And she would not do it.
Because, I'm young. I'm energetic. I run around playing sports and stuff. And I come home, I'm hungry. And there's no food. So you got to do what you got to do. But it was different.
So you went to work.
I went to work. I washed cars, cut wood. Had my own little lawn care service. Me and my buddy go out shovel snow.
Lawn chair service?
Lawn service.
Oh, okay.
Lawn care service.
Okay.
And so we did that, cut grass, rake leaves, wash cars, whatever. I had 2 paper routes.
Oh, my goodness. You did all these things at the same time or just at various different times?
Well, it all depends on the season.
So in the summer, you were more busy?
Yeah. Sometime I cut grass, fall, I'm raking leaves, winter, I'm shoveling snow. And then you're washing cars when it gets too cold. Because it wasn't like a car wash that you're used to. If someone had a lot with a water hose and people drive their car in, we would wash it.
Oh, yes. hand wash,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I know that one of the jobs that you had was at the country club when you were picking up balls for how much?
This was the golf course.
Okay.
This was actually in the 60s. Blacks weren't allowed to play at the golf course, but you could caddy. Now here I am, 12, 13 years old, probably weighing 110 pounds, carrying these bags around. And they would give us, $5 maybe for 18 holes of golf, So that's what I did. It wasn't a job per se. It's one of those things. It's just like Hispanics would go to the Home Depot, waiting for someone to pick them up. Same way there. You go there and you're hoping someone will say, "Hey, I want you to come."
caddy for me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So the money that you would earn, you would use that to buy food for your basic survival.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To help your mom.
Yeah, it was enough to buy food, sometimes just for me. And that's about it.
But it helped.
Yeah, of course.
And did your siblings work as well?
Yeah, we did. We worked. And, some things like, in the mornings, they had a truck that goes to drive around and drop off chocolate milk. Sometimes we'd go help ourselves to that. I know it's illegal, but when you're hungry, you do what you got to do, right?
That's right. You got to have some chocolate milk with those donuts that you're able to buy for yourself.
No, that's
just the way it was.
That's just the way it was. Yeah.
So in school, were you a stellar student in school? Were you just getting by? How did you feel about going to school?
It was, I didn't really like school per se. My first time I played hooky, I was in kindergarten.
Oh my goodness, that's early.
Seriously, we moved to Pittsburgh. I was 4.5 years old. That fall, I'm starting kindergarten. So the mom takes me down to the school, introducing me to the teacher. I'm fighting. I end up kicking the teacher. I'm hollering and screaming. I did not want to go. I want to stay home. So anyway.
All right. So that's how you started school.
So anyway, the next day I'm supposed to go to school. I stop off at my friend's house because we used to walk to school. I stopped at my friend's house down the street. I did not go to school.
Oh my, the second day.
Second day. And my dad did not like that. I never did it again, believe me. I'm not going to tell you what the punishment was. It never happened again.
Oh my word.
No, I just enjoyed being home with my mom. And
so as you moved forward in school, junior high, high school.
I did. School wasn't hard for me. Some people had to really study. I was good at taking tests. I could grasp it really quick. I had a little blessing when it came to that, but it was so much going on that school wasn't my number one priority. Like in my house, we didn't talk about goals and what you want to do in the future. It's day to day survival. That's what we did. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do tomorrow? It's not what are you going to be doing in 4 years or 5 years. What about tomorrow, next week? How are we going to pay the bills? I can remember one time, I must have been about 15, 16 years old. I come home, I'm sitting downstairs, I'm watching TV, my mom comes down, and she sits beside me, and she starts crying. Talking about how are we going to pay the rent? And it was only $75 a month. Oh. I felt so helpless, and it's just, it's just a horrible thing. And because she's having a tough time anyway, raising, here she's got, 7 kids, sure. Single mom, no help from anybody, and there's nothing I can do.
So you had the racial struggles of living in this Black neighborhood and discrimination and all, but then you also had that struggle of being poor.
Economic struggle, yes.
Yeah. And so as far as your attitude goes, you had to have been a little bitter.
I was angry, because like I said, as you get older, you start realizing that everybody doesn't live like you. And you watch TV, you look at the magazines and people are doing well. And it's like, why me? Mm-hmm. Like I said, we cannot choose our parents or our situation. We just have to deal with it. And it's how you deal with it
that makes the difference.
Absolutely.
And you did make a difference, and we will be getting
in my own little way. It wasn't always the right way, but, it was a way.
Well, you ended up making some very good decisions. So one of the things that I wanted to share with the audience is your experience with the police and how that really shaped the way that you felt about the white community, because your experiences with the white community were not good experiences. And when you don't have an opportunity to have good experiences with any group of people, you will then make decisions based on what you feel that you know.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
And the same experience I experienced were Black men all around the country experiencing the same thing, especially those who lived in the inner city. And during that time, we had a lot of ghettos in this country and supervised by the police. Well, I never had any issues with the police until you start getting older. I mean, the first incident I had with the police, maybe 13, 14 years old. Me and my friends were, and this is summertime. It's about 8 o'clock at night. We're heading up to the ice cream parlor. And this police officer that everybody hate, who's harass people, pulled us over. And for no reason at all, and told us to lamp against the car. I just asked the question, why are you stopping us? And he said, nigga, if you don't put your hands up on that car, I'm going to shoot you.
How old were you?
14, 15, something like that.
Oh my gosh, that would be so scary.
That's, like I said, that's my first confrontation with him. Not too long after that, maybe a day or two later, they arrested my brother Bobby for the same thing. And he likes to mouth off a little bit. So then they run home. The police has Bobby, and me and my mom, we go down there, and they're sitting in the back of the police car, and for no reason. Just harassment. This happened every day. A good friend of mine's, he's around my age. I remember he got killed by the police. And he was a thin guy. He had a stub arm. And this police officer shot him. And they said it was justifiable homicide because this police said he felt like he was threatened. This police officer, we called him Gargo. He's about 6'6", 250 pounds. And this guy, if wet, weighed 150 pounds. Oh, no. And he shot him in the alley. And nobody really knows why. But back then, if a police officer, I had another friend who was shot by the police, he was shot in the back.
And this is all, what, you were 16, 17 years old at this point?
Teenage years,
And you've had 3 friends killed by the police at this point?
One was killed, one was shot in the back. But again, it's justified. It's no way, like for instance, they grab you off the street, take you down to the police station, beat you up. What do? You get an attorney and say the police officer beat me up? Didn't work that way.
Didn't work. And you didn't have the money to get an attorney.
And even if you went to trial, because you had a white jury, what white jury is going to convict a white police officer for beating up a Black youth? This wasn't going to happen. Yeah. So we have no recourse, So yeah, that's
So bitter
I'm
indeed.
getting
You're angry.
and mad, and the hate's coming on, and I'm ready.
You're gonna burn down the country.
Absolutely.
So you graduated from high school. Of course, you were going to do that. That's just how you are. You graduated from high school. Did you have any hope of your future at that point?
No, none. No, I had no idea. It's not like how you were raised and your parents kind of planned out what you're going to do. You're going to go to college. That was never an issue. That's nothing that we ever talked about. If you got through high school, you were doing good. So that was never an issue. What do you want to do? And there's certain things I liked. You know, I like engineering and drafting and all that stuff. I kind of gravitated towards it, but I never really followed it because there's too many other things going on.
Or you're just trying to survive. It's that
Too many
whole
things
thing
going
of
on.
surviving.
Yeah, not just at home, but outside of home in the neighborhood. It was just
A lot of things
chaos,
happening. Yeah.
chaos.
That was a time. That was a time in the 60s and early 70s. But then you decided that you were going to go into the Army.
Well, I didn't decide per se. They had a draft.
A lot of people
And-
don't even know about the
Yeah, they
draft.
had a draft, and the thing about it had a lottery because they had deferments for people who had money and stuff. They didn't have to go, but they had a draft, and my number was like number 12, so I was going to get ready to get drafted that June. And so a friend of mine said, "Hey, let me get a little bit of advice." He's been in the military. He said, "Go ahead and enlist, and that way you won't have to go into the infantry." Because if they draft you, it's a good chance you're going into the infantry. That's where a lot of blacks were going into the infantry. And so I went down there, enlisted, did really well on my excuse me, aptitude test. So I had a choice of what career path I wanted to choose in the military.
And so you chose?
I chose to be a helicopter mechanic.
Oh, okay.
You know,
And so off you went to Vietnam.
I went to basic training first. Went to basic training in Fort Knox, Kentucky. And then after that, I went to, they call it AIT, which is school where you learn your craft. It was being a helicopter mechanic and stuff like that. And then there's Vietnam. And then I volunteered to go to Vietnam. I lost my mind.
What in the world?
I didn't know any better. I just wanted to get out of the United States. I wanted to see the world.
And so you chose
did,
Vietnam
I
of
did.
all of the
I know,
places.
like I
I
said,
mean, a
I didn't know any
holler.
better.
Well, you get to Vietnam, and what are you thinking? What was it like when you landed? Now you're in this first time you've ever been out of the country, obviously.
I'm like, this is a beautiful country. We lived it. We landed in a place called Cameron Bay. White beaches, palm trees. It's just gorgeous. But then again, that's just, you're there for orientation and stuff. Next thing you load it up on the truck and you're heading.
And you're out in the country.
Yeah.
Where they're doing the actual fighting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you're the group that you were in. Was it a black infantry group? Or?
Oh, no. The Army is, it's not segregated anymore. But anyway, yeah, it's this group, everybody. And at this time, too, there are a high percentage of blacks going into the military, being drafted, or in some cases, if they got in trouble with the law, they had an opportunity to go to the military or go to jail. So they
chose
did that.
military.
Yeah, so they go down in Vietnam. But yeah, there was a higher percentage of blacks in the military compared to the population here in the States.
So when you went there as a black man with a lot of black soldiers that were there,
And angry black man.
so you all were together.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We gravitate together. Because there's this thing about no matter where U.S. troops go in the world, their culture goes with them. So you're going to have racism. Just like in Vietnam, for instance, if you went to Saigon, you had white clubs, you have
The
black
black
clubs. That's just the way it is. You go in there, they got the big Confederate flag hanging up. They're teaching the Vietnamese called black niggers and all that kind of stuff, saying we had tails. That's part of American culture.
So the white soldiers were telling the Vietnamese women that you had.
I was asked if I could see my tail. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But this what they were.
So the Vietnamese women would come up and say, "Hey, I heard you had a tail. Can you see it?"
Yeah, they were told that.
Unbelievable. Yes, it's just
But that's
unbelievable.
Just
The
racism
hate that was going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is something.
And then they would make me mad too. Like here, they would call us niggers and stuff. They come with the same thing. They call the Vietnamese gooks and stuff like that. And I used to get so mad at the African American soldiers because they would get into that too. And I said, "Why are you calling these people gooks?"
And they're calling us the N-word.
Yeah, I know. Why are you buying into that? I used to get angry about. I get angry at them too. But yeah, it was different. It's different world. Totally different.
There was a time with all of this self-segregation going on, and I get it. It was culture that the whites hated the blacks hated the whites, and it just ended up being that way. Obviously, when you went to Vietnam, there was an incident that happened where I always call it an opportunity.
Opportunity.
An opportunity to meet somebody that was different than you. And I would love for you to share that with the audience, that you had this opportunity and how that helped to start reshaping you a little bit.
Yeah, because when I left Indianapolis and I went to Vietnam, I had no white friends. The reason I had no white friends, there's no white people in my neighborhood. There's not in my schools. So I never had any really opportunities to sit down and create a friendship with white folks. And plus, I didn't like them either at the time, and I feel like I was justified by the oppression that was going on. But no, I didn't like them. So anyway, you get over to Vietnam, and it's totally different. You can't explain it unless you've been there, of all the stuff that's going on. I mean, it's just something going on every day, Some of it's about the war, some of it's personal, and it was just different. But anyway, I'm talking and I developed a friendship with this white guy, and back then we used our name, we all had nicknames. Like mine was Naptown. You had some people call him Chi-Town, whatever, and he had a nickname. We just didn't go by. We didn't get personal because you might not see that person. But anyway, we became really good friends, and. So I started hanging out with them and listening to their music and stuff. I was enjoying it.
Listening to their music.
Their music, yes.
Now, what does that mean?
This was classic rock music,
And you had not been
Led Zeppelin, the Allman Band, and I wasn't exposed to that, but I really liked it, because I love music anyway. And so we became good friends. And of course, they were a little more on the liberal side. They're hippies, you would call them.
Oh, okay. So they like black people just a little bit.
Yeah. So they're a little more liberal and open. Mm-hmm. And we developed some really good friendships there. And then I got feedback from someone, because I was really militant. I was kind of had a little group that I was in charge of, and that they thought I was selling out for hanging around those white people.
And when you heard that, because now you know this white person for who he is, did you think it was kind of weird a little bit?
I get it. I get it to a point, because one side, here I am talking about the hatred of white people, we need to exterminate them, all that kind of stuff. And then now I'm starting to hanging out with them. So they're looking at the hypocrisy there. Like, yes. Hey, what's going on? What are you doing here? I thought she was this, I thought you were that. Well,
so how did you explain that then?
I just what can you explain? I just like hanging out with them. I like the music and stuff, and they're different. Because, you have, like I said, they were more liberal and accepting. Is not like like the one first sergeant I had over, he was from Alabama, who put a gun on me.
Oh my goodness.
They
were different. They were more accepting.
You have a group who has a hatred of black people. And this was my first sergeant. Like I said, he's from the South, and he expected black people to act a certain way, and I didn't act that way. And this guy, if he had an opportunity, would have shot me. And he pulled a gun on me, but and many witnesses there. Yeah. And then you had that group who were more understanding, because in the 60s, a lot of stuff was happening.
Sure, yes.
Peace movement, civil rights, all that, love one another. It was a great time. It was a great time to be alive.
So you ended up being really good friends with this guy and some of his friends.
Yes.
Now, did any of the black soldiers, did they eventually started maybe hanging out a little bit, or did they stay segregated?
Some of them did. Some of them did. Because you get to the point, after you've been around people for a long time, you're all over in this one country, and people are trying to kill you. So, you start developing a friendship. And like Martin Luther King used to say, you judge people on their character. And that's what I started doing.
That's what you started doing.
Not with their religion or their color, but how they are individuals. And
because your life was at stake.
Yeah, I'm that way today. I don't care about anything else. Are you a good person? Mm-hmm. Are you a good father, a good brother, a good neighbor? That's all I care about, because there's bad people everywhere.
Did you ever think that you would get to that place?
No. I was, like you said, I was just angry. But then again, as you grow older, you mature and get wiser. You're supposed to. Everybody doesn't. So you lay those childish things aside, and now you start dealing with the adults.
Well, Vietnam was a good foundation for you of meeting white people, liking some of them, developing relationships, because then you went to Salt Lake City, Utah, where there were few black people at all.
It was different. It was a great experience for me. It was a bad experience for you, but it was a good experience because you find out about who you are, and you find out about other people are, and what's important and what's not important. But yeah, then again, like I said, then I'm in Salt Lake. This was in the 70s, and they didn't like black people either.
No. Some of them did not.
They did not.
Well,
but then again, I live in America and I understand America.
Right. And you had enough experience at that point to know how to probably deal with some of that and go on your merry way.
And then you know who to deal with and who not to deal with. Everybody is, because they're white, is racist. We have our biases and stuff, but they're not racist per se.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Right. Yeah. Just because they're white doesn't mean they're a racist. And just because they're black doesn't mean they're a racist. It's just based on your experiences and what you allow yourself to be a part of. And I know that you went and you started working at Chevron, which is, huge. We all know Chevron. And who was your best friend at Chevron?
Oh, Marty Bone. Matter of fact, I was thinking this morning, I met him in 1977. So it's been almost 50 years.
50 years.
And he ended up being one of my best friends, and we still communicate to this day. But he's a hippie too. He was different. He was nice. He's a very nice guy.
Yes. And the fact that he would end up being your best friend.
Absolutely.
It wasn't like there weren't any black people in Utah. There were, certainly that you were friends with, but Marty ended up being your
and
friend.
Then, when I worked at Chevron, I was there for 12 years or so. I was the only black person there for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember telling you the story when I get ready to leave. He said, who was it? I'm going to put his name out there too. Jack Bell. He was head of HR. He comes to me and says, "Hey, Dave, we appreciate you being here. If you ever want to come back, you can. But do you know anybody like you?"
Oh, gosh.
What are you talking about, Jack?
Go.
What are you saying?
What does that mean, Jack?
Just say it. I said, yeah, Jack, I do have a friend, and I think he'll work well out here. And they did hire him, and then he was only black out there for a long time.
And that's how it was in Utah. That's just the way it was. You were the only, I was the only black, student in many, many, many of my classes. That's just how it was, and you learned how to deal with that.
Yeah, you have to navigate through that.
Exactly. And there were some good things about that, and there were some not so good things, but you take the best of what you have and you learn to move forward. And you have done such a great job at that, David. I'm just, I know I'm your wife and I can just talk about how proud I am of you. How you
might say that.
Well,
but it's a learning experience, and I'm a product of my history.
Yes.
Because when I first got to Utah, remember I was telling you about, I went out to a place called Hercules.
Yes.
Hercules just got this contract, third stage in Mixel. And an unemployment office sent me out there because, they send you around. You go to some place and you're like, we're hiring, but not you. So I go out there. That's why I go out there and meet with the HR guy. He comes out and he says, we are hiring, but we're not hiring blacks right now. But when we do, you'll be the first one.
You're going to be on the list. Woo!
And
so happy I'm black
he was
right
man
now.
of his word. He did hire me. But as soon as the contract was gone, 2-3 years later, I was the first one out. That's just, and it makes you angry. It really does. But life goes on.
It does. And you, like we said, you learn how to navigate.
You do.
One of the things that I wanted you to share with the audience is how insignificant you have found that skin color is, in terms of why we put so much significance on it when it really is just a covering.
It's pigments. It's just a few pigments in our skin. But we have people who judge you by that. Just like when I was growing up, and you know it too, that white kids were taught that they were superior. Black kids taught they were inferior. And we bought into it. I had friends who believed that they were inferior. I had whites who believed that they were superior. That's what we grew up with. So we had
and to think that, just like you said, it's pigments.
I know,
it's so insignificant
yes.
in everyday life.
But it's a way of classifying people, and we still do it. 2025, we still do it.
We still do it.
And
you're here to say we need to stop doing that because you were able to do it.
It's so
if
stupid.
you could do it,
it's so stupid.
It truly
really
is.
It just shows the ignorance of it.
And what I find so beautiful now, David, is I look at our family.
So diverse.
It's so diverse. What do you love about that, coming from where you came from?
I just love people. I really do, and especially people who have set aside the bigotry and all that, and who just like you for who you are. You know how you meet somebody and you just like that person.
Yes.
You don't care what
you don't even
color.
think about.
It's like that connection when you meet somebody like, I've known you for a long time. You feel like family.
Right.
Don't care what color the skin are. You just meet that individual, that human.
Yes.
And you feel that connection.
Yes.
But
yes.
some people won't allow that connection to take place because, your skin. If it wasn't for the color of your skin, we could be friends.
Oh, they're missing out.
I can't take you home to the family looking like that. It's just silly.
And we're so glad that didn't happen in our family, because we have taken in we have everything that you can imagine. Isn't that beautiful? So beautiful.
Yep. I got my Hispanic grandkids that I love.
Right? I know you have so many. Yeah. We have our white nieces and nephews.
Yep.
We have. I mean,
you
name it. We've got it.
So
very diverse. Yes.
And very loving.
Yes. Yes.
Nothing but love.
That's what it all boils down to, isn't it? We are taking away the hate and bringing in the love.
And it reflects on our children.
Yes.
Because they don't have those racial biases and stuff, because they have been brought into this group of diverse people who love one another.
Yes.
And we never talk about race or a person's religion We talk about the individual. What
That's
type
what
of character
matters.
do you have? What kind of person are you? Because that's why, just like my children, I judge them by who they are.
Yes,
Are you a good person or a bad person? That's what we should be caring about.
exactly.
Instead
And
of
that
the
is
color of somebody's skin. So
I know
silly.
it's so silly. And that's where we get to close, right? How silly it is to not like somebody because of their skin color. We really do have more in common than we don't.
We do. I know Barack used to say that all the time, and it is so true.
Yes,
Like we
absolutely.
let people divide us over nonsense.
Yes, we do.
And stuff that is just silly.
Well, David,
What?
thank you for being here
My
and for
pleasure.
being the love of my life and for just being just such a great person.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm a great person because if you know how bad I was when you
Oh
met
my
me.
gosh, you were bad.
I was just
when met
struggling.
you. Oh my gosh. He's not telling the truth, people. But anyway, I love you, honey. Thank you so much for being here.
37 years, man.
Peace.
Peace out.